Hey guys, welcome to episode 5's Loki season 2 review for science slash fiction. And after the momentous episode of last week where everything exploded, we theorized that, it wasn't obviously over. You're not going to end the series right there. But how exactly were they going to, move forward after the explosion? Well, it turns out that the explosion did some timey-wimey stuff and engulfed everybody into this time explosion, thus sending everybody involved back into their individual timelines, except for Loki. And in this episode, some people call it, I think I've seen it called a filler episode, but I think that there is a reveal in this episode of the direction that Marvel is going. So it is still moving the series forward. However, it is kind of a treat. It is a backstory for all of the different personalities within the TVA, kind of cluing you in on where they came from before they became involved in the TVA, and thus giving Loki back his agency in his own series. I've also pointed out that Loki seems a side character kind of in his own series. Here he grabs it all back and is given motivation on why he's actually being the little soldier boy for the TVA. What is his motivation? What does he truly want, whether it's subconscious or at the front of his mind? And here he realizes it's basically so he won't be alone. He's trying to get his friends back. Initially, it's called selfish by Sylvie when Loki's pointing out how she's being selfish, but she just simply points out that you're just doing the same. And basically, I thought it was a fantastic episode. I liked how much OB was in it. I obviously like this character, and the more we get of him, the happier I am. And we do get a sort of fan payoff moment from all the way in season 1. We've always wanted to see Morbius on his jet ski. We get the payoff to the jet ski now, though it's a half payoff because the jet ski is not actually in the water. It is in his used sails, or actually new sails, I don't know. But Mobius is a kind of a slimy car salesman or jet ski salesman. He also sells ATVs. So, however, the implications for the greater Marvel universe is huge here, and I actually didn't see this one coming. So I'm over here thinking that this is going to be Kang. We're setting up Kang. That's the high-level powers that we're looking at, and how does Loki factor in? I don't really know. But by the end of this, it is revealed, and whoever is spoiling shit at Marvel needs to get their leaks under control. Because even I started to see some of this, and I think they were accidentally spoiling some. There's a cover to a comic book that was circulating around on Twitter where Loki is like holding some green, strands. And initially, I guess they thought people might think it's fabric, but it's time, and he is essentially, and he looks to be near the stairs where they use the Japanese, what is it, kusagi, or when they repair. Alex, what's the word for the Japanese repairing?
Kintsugi.
Kintsugi, I think that's what it is. And so they kind of spoiled it that He Who Remains is this version. So comic book fans went and looked at all the comics and realize that there is a version of Loki called the God of Stories. And this is the most powerful being. Like, we're talking power levels above even the gods of the Marvel Universe. He's a level above it. When you control the entire story and you can manipulate things that Marvel is telling, then you're getting crazy. So I'm kind of excited about that maybe not necessarily replacing Kang, but yeah, in a certain way, replacing Kang. Tom Hiddleston versus Jonathan Majors. Now, I don't know if this is going to be this way moving forward, but certainly we are positioning Loki into a very high power level and position where he is able to start controlling time in a way in storytelling. In fact, this episode he learns how to control his time slipping. So very, good character moments. Stories moving forward. Performance is good. Get a little bit of backstory of everybody. I don't really care about Casey. I don't really care about B12. Is it B12? B15?
B15.
B15. Their backstories really add nothing. They add nothing to the thing.
It's cool. We finally get to figure out what happened to Frank at Alcatraz.
That's true. This anybody see the movie Alcatraz with
The Rock?
Clint Eastwood? Well, there's Alcatraz. The
The
Rock,
greatest
right?
Alcatraz movie of all time, The Rock.
It is. So overall, I enjoyed this. I liked many of the little bits, especially OB's backstory, which makes sense.
That's my favorite one.
He's Carl Sagan.
Yeah, he's really fun. He's like buying his own books. Wow, they're selling out fast. You better grab yourself one and pay cash.
I felt so bad. I was like, give me a book. I'll take a book.
Take the book from Obi. Obi is fun. So I liked it very much. What did you guys think of episode 5?
Yeah, I thought this was a filler episode. It did have its moments. I did like it. Like obviously the Obi, the Mobius one. It didn't really pay off. It was like I wanted to see something cooler, but yeah, he's just a salesman for like Sea-Doos. It's like, all right, well, I didn't, and he's a divorced dad with these kids that he doesn't pay attention to. He's always just working nonstop. I was like, kind of felt bad. I was like,
he's a workaholic. Yeah, it ties into his character and how he doesn't want to go back and peek in on his previous life because he's so focused on his work.
This is basically what he was saying. Is like, what happens if it was good? Then I'll just be thinking about it. Other than that, like it was just him honing his powers, trying to get a control of it. There's some cool moments, but it was fine. I enjoyed it, but nothing really. Not a great payoff.
Yeah, I think that the writer missed the brief, and the brief is this is the second to last episode in a 6-episode series. This is a amazing episode in a 13 to 26 episode series. There's so many cool Easter eggs, and we get amazing backstories. I love Obi's backstory. It was really great. Even Morbius' stuff is kind of weird, where like kind of interesting, where he's got like the misbehaving son with the green, and he's got the red son that's got to take care of him that wants snakes. So it's like the Thor and Loki kind of thing going on. So like they put a lot of effort into it. The problem is, I keep thinking that we have 6 episodes, and we're dealing with some really, really heavy stuff. And it's not setting, normally at this point in time, I was like, oh man, how are we going to resolve all of this crazy stuff? And we got a little bit of it with the spaghettification of some of these people, but I think too much of the episode was spent on some of the lighthearted stuff that I wish we had gotten earlier in the season. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of fun to be had here. It's kind of like last episode where there's a lot of cool, really individual scenes, but when I think about everything in context of a 6-episode series that ends next week, I don't know. I was left a little wanting.
Okay, that's a good point. The spaghettification of people. I think there was some really great shots of timelines sort of falling apart and people reacting to their existence being turned into spaghetti and running, and it's fucking sweet. And because at one moment Loki kind of loses faith a little bit. He's basically getting the band back together in order to keep fighting for the TVA. Needs one more person. Okay, Sylvie. So he goes to Sylvie. Of course, she's Krabby Patty here, and tells him he's selfish, and kind of points the mirror back at him, and he's like, "Fuck." And I'm like, God damn it, Sylvie. And you were wrong in the end, weren't you? Because, your universe falls apart. He was right. All these things are falling apart. They got to do something about it. You can't just put your fucking head in the sand, and try to live for yourself and be super selfish, even though that could be part of your motivation. So I like complex, character motivations, and both things can be true. And in that instance, it is because Sylvie's universe starts to fucking fall apart. And she has to use her little time unit to warp out of there and then join the crew. And I was like, okay, all right. So now we've got our climax. And then all of a sudden they start falling apart. And I was like, oh, shit. Well, the first guy that falls apart, I think, was like the prisoner dude, Casey. And then, I was like, well, we don't really need Casey. Let's move on. What was Casey going to do anyway? And then, but everybody else starts to fall apart. And I was like, fuck. All right. And the whole thing is destroyed. And so I really, really like the moment where, Loki tries to keep it all together. And in that moment where his friends are all dying and his reality is outside of his control, that's when he's able to finally control the time slip and whoop, and kind of go back.
Yeah, that was a great moment, but again, like that's at the very end. So that's like
it's where it needs to be.
Yeah. I just don't. But his motivation, I think, when they're going, tell me what you really want. He's like, I'm lonely. Is like, wait, the being spaghettified and having every single person in every timeline turn into spaghetti isn't motivation enough for you?
Who are you talking about? The motivation for Loki?
For either of them. They're sitting there drinking bourbon.
Loki does mention that he wants to save the TVA and save the timelines.
But his main focus.
But his main focus is he's going to be lonely?
No, I think both things can be true. That's why I said it earlier. You can have complex motivations with multiple motivations.
But Sylvie's like, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. Tell me the real reason. He's
and I think Sylvie is ultimately wrong. And that's why Sylvie has to join the group and realizes that, she's being... Well, she is being selfish. She's putting her head in the sand. It's just she's got to join the group. So regardless of their internal motivations and why they're doing it and whether they're doing it for themselves, it will also help the entire galaxy if they, attempt to stop the unraveling of all the different universes. But I get it. I totally understand that you guys have problems with the motivations. I don't. I think it's done well here. And I thought it was another well episode. I see a lot of people calling it filler, and I think people call it filler because there were so many of the backstories of the different things. And I agree that we could have spent more time.
Especially you got like one episode to wrap
we could spend
up.
more time on more important things than I'm breaking out of prison.
Because you don't care about those.
I'm doing a doctor thing. Okay, so let's go into final verdicts then.
Go ahead.
I think that, and I know people don't like it, but I think this is an average episode. And there's nothing wrong with average. Most things are average. Like the average thing that comes out it is average. I think there's some good stuff here, but there's also some, I feel like we're spinning our wheels right before the last episode. Again, this feels like a great episode if we have more time with the characters. I would love to see more backstory about Casey. I think that's fascinating. I don't think that B-15s was as interesting, but whatever. So it's like I like all of the individual stories. It's just like, man, this is not the time to be doing these things. This is the time, if you're only limiting me to 6 episodes, to kind of speed things up. There's a little bit of tension, and I think it's kind of taken away from me by the fact that all of the timelines exploded last episode, and then Loki magically fixed it, and everyone gets spaghettified, and it's just like they keep yoinking out the carpet from under us, and it's like you're just going to ride a new timey-wimey way why none of the things that happened before don't matter. So I think that they're kind of doing themselves a disservice. I'm really excited to see what happens next week, but I think that this episode itself, I think it had some good parts, but I also think that they could have done a lot better.
Yeah, I was between a 5 or a 6. I'm probably going to go with the 6 because I am pretty excited for next episode, but at the same time, this one was like a fine. I didn't care about some of this, like the people's backstories, but not everyone's going to have an amazing backstory.
Yeah.
I also give a little bit extra points because Mobius with his jet skis. Like, all right, I get it, but I wanted a little bit more. But I felt so bad for Obi, and like his story is just like so sad. He's like, oh, well, I don't have the Tim pad. It's like, I need this. It's like, here you go. He fixes it. It's like, well, my wife left me, but he's so fucking just like,
dude,
whatever.
Obi is fucking MVP, man. Is. You need him. He's you, Joe. You need a friend like this. He's like a constantly going to do the right thing.
Exactly. No matter at what cost. Like, he sacrifices his own happiness in life.
Yes, Joe.
He's like, well, I want to be a writer, but I'm also like, I got my PhD at Caltech and all this stuff. He's not. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, he's
So
just
he bumped it up for me.
I want
He
to
was
have a
great.
beer with OB, and I want to tell him how great he is, so that he can get the
Oh my god, he is a
recognition that
great.
he deserves.
He is a great
That's why I say
addition.
any episode
Great
with OB
addition to
hits
this.
a little bit of a curve for me.
Yeah.
What was your rating? Alex?
5.
5. Okay. Yeah. So I think that this is. Remember, we had the 3-episode block by the same writers and director team here at the end. I think they're killing it. This episode, not as good as last episode, so I understand the dip, and I see the dip that you guys are picking up on, and I agree with most of your points, with some of the backstories and stuff. But I also think that we are still, we're telling a very tight story. I don't feel like they're rushing things. I feel like this new idea that they've introduced, that Loki is becoming the god of stories in the comics. Holy shit, if that's what they're doing. That's fucking amazing, and I love Tom Hiddleston. I think he's one of the best parts of the MCU right now. Yeah. There's a lot of shit, if the Marvels is coming out in a week and all these other characters I don't give a fuck about. So I want to glorify and raise up and give the power level to the guy who I like the most and who I want to be leading the MCU. And so if he ends up as the god of stories and supplements Kang and has this higher level, or maybe he'll fight future Kangs, or he replaces Kang in the Marvel going forward. So there's a lot of drama going on behind the scenes in Marvel right now. I'll talk about it in just a minute. I think a few people are just making mass assumptions and then just creating content off of rumors and stuff, because a lot of that stuff was already happening. Well, I'll talk about it in a bit. But anyways, so I think that the direction that they're going with the Loki character and giving his series back to him is awesome. And I'm really hoping for big things in the last episode, and I hope they can nail this in the last episode. I want it to be momentous and have implications for the MCU, but also give Loki the character arc that he deserves and needs. And we shall see how it all wraps up, because we're doing this stuff with the TVA. We're doing this stuff with how it unravels, how it ravels back together in spaghettis. So the continued acting great, continued visuals great, and I do like the story moment. So I think it was a good episode, but I do understand a little bit of a hey, look at all the backstories, hey, kind of filler.
Yeah, because like you said earlier, you have a tight story, you have no time to lollygag.
But done at a higher level. Yeah. So, rating 8 out of 10 for me.
Okay.
And so let's go a little bit into the breakdown and talking about the greater MCU and some of the drama that's going on right now. So, hey, we're at the breakdown, and see what I've got down here. So the explosion engulfs them, right? And at the TVA is empty. It's only Loki. I like this little clever shot where he sees himself and then immediately goes through that sequence of events again with hello, hello. Time slips. He's seeing himself. And then we go to the 1962 prison escape with the Casey and the Alcatraz stuff. And I was like, okay, if sometimes I get the meta. Sometimes I get where the writers and the actors are like, all right, we want to stretch our arms and we want to do something different and visually unique. But it's like, man, you're wasting time. Because it's like, he's got to get out. He's doing things. He's hiding it. So, we're going to say, none of this shit matters. Right? So that's what y'all just saying. And then
if it had been episode 2, I think it's a much, much higher score for me.
No, not even episode 2. I like what you said before, that if this was a part of an 15 episode series, wow.
I mean, if we're talking about if an episode like this was in the second to last episode of Andor, I would have been fucking pissed because we got.
Well, Andor is the exception because it has 12 episodes.
Yeah, but so even so, it's we are at the second to the last episode. Why are we doing this here? This, you need to be ramping up to this big monumentous thing. Yeah. And I felt that we had a massive climax in the previous episode, and then we had nothing to do the vast majority of this episode.
So I think it lasted twice as long as it needed. If you want to show the backstory, because everybody did end up in their own universes as a result of the explosion, But just wrap it up. Let's go.
I mean, they did the DB Cooper thing in the first. They're doing like unsolved mysteries of like crazy things, and so it's like
Cooper, I liked it.
So that's what they're doing here with.
And if you
Casey.
don't know, explain what this is. This actually happened.
Morris is Frank Morris, I think is his name. Is so people escaped from Alcatraz, and
Yeah,
he
just said nobody could ever do it. Well, somebody actually. Did
so
it.
I think it was two brothers and Frank, and then they never know where it happened. He probably got eaten by a shark. But
they assume because it's fun. It's a fun story because they could be at the Bahamas drinking pina coladas, or they could be dead at the bottom of the sea because they couldn't swim.
He's in a secret CIA jail and he's gonna take Nicolas Cage back into Alcatraz and have the greatest Michael Bay movie of all time.
Was it that the raft or the thing that they built was actually still on the beach, so that they didn't even use it? That's the even more scary part. Like, what the fuck happened to aliens? Took them,
or they built two, and they had
like, you escaped from Alcatraz. We need you in our planet. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Loki is an alien.
Or did they use the raft? I don't remember. Anyway, so they do the prison escape thing, and then we go to 2012 for B-15, and she's a doctor. It's fuck pointless. Just whatever. Moving on.
Yeah, she fixes kids' arms. Like, don't climb trees. She walks out. Oh, I saw something crazy. That's it.
That's it. I guess that should be how quick it was, honestly.
Yeah.
And, it's branches. Get off the branches, branching timeline, timey-wimey. But one that I do like, and that I wish the episode focused on, because remember back in episode 1, I'm like, I think this series is going to go 1 episode per person, and then we wrap it up, right? And so I wanted to see the Mobius stuff, which is the 2022 jet ski salesman. He's finally on a jet ski, but I want him to be actually on a jet ski, but whatever. It's clear that he does partake in jet ski activities because he's got 2 at home, which he also tries to pawn off. So I like that this one's lengthy because this is one of our main characters. I don't need Casey and all this other stuff, but I get why it's there. It's just if we want to do that, we have to have more episodes. But anyways, Mobius is we get that payoff, and I like the wacky inflatable arm tube man, and he does a little dance as he comes in. I like that. Just some cool shots in here. And so he explains to him, who he is, and he doesn't believe him. He's worried about his kids, and he's a very aggressive salesman. Not aggressive, but your typical kind of sales pitch guy who's always selling, selling. And then we go into 1994, where this is, and I didn't even expect Obi's backstory, so I'm glad we got it. I was like, I forgot about that they could do his, because I thing. They were gonna do all the circular thing.
He's like the main piece that they fucking need.
Right, exactly. Without Obi, none of this shit works because he even builds stuff here, even though he's not the Obi that we know. He's still smart as fuck. He's a sci-fi book author, which is his main passion.
Yes.
That's his passion, which nobody cares about. He's not selling any books. In fact, he goes to bookstores and hides his books so that people will buy them. This is
like,
not
that's cool.
scanning.
That's funny.
He's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Just you pay cash. I'll pay cash. And it's like, oh, you better go get one. Buying his own books. He lives in an awesome warehouse. He's actually a astrophysicist, I think, and then Loki comes into this area, talks to him, and of course, because he's into sci-fi stuff, he's like, this is exactly like this kind of stuff I wrote in my book, like dreams, and I just love it, and it aligns. So he immediately believes him and wants to help. But in order to, from what they talk, we have a scene about what's happening and more exposition. And he's like, all right, well, I got to build the device to help you from scratch so we could, jump. And he's like, but that could take a whole lifetime. And he's like, boom, because he picked up the TVA book from before.
Oh, I thought the other one, because he's still trying to push off his book.
Oh, yeah. He does that. I love that.
I just found a copy.
Yeah, it's right.
So genuine. I fucking love it.
I love this guy. And it's going to be a shame that we'll probably never see him in the MCU. How are they going to find a way to put him?
They better find something.
It's here. I don't think it's necessary to have Loki season 3, but if it would, but there was one little thing I would like. I was like, I get more Obi if I do get to see season 3, but I don't think there's gonna be a season 3. All right, so he
gives him the TVA book.
Yeah, he gives him the TVA book. And then goes back to Mobius. He's talking, and that's when he reveals he's got 2 jet skis, and he's trying to pawn one off, because he shows up to his house. So he's just thinking he's just constantly selling. Just as he's about to tell him, look, I don't understand all this stuff that you're saying. Just go away. Obi pops up, and he's got a massive little time thing that he built. And he's like, wow, you did that fast. And he's like, fast? Well, I guess it did take me a year, 12 months, which with the manual, I was like, okay, I buy all this. But in his universe, it feels like 1 second that Obi, did it because time doesn't really matter. And essentially, he tells everybody, look, I need your help. And don't worry. Oh, my kids, don't worry, because I can put you right back. I can put you in fact, a second before we even met, so you have more time with your kids, whatever. And I like that explanation. So they get the band back together. And he needs one more recruit, which is Sylvie. And then that's when he goes to her universe in McDonald's. And
yeah, you knew that shit was going to get fucked up because it started with her
food,
her
spaghettis.
food. I was like, oh, shit, they don't have time.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah,
Before they started talking?
Yeah,
Before they
when
start talking,
she goes out, she puts her food down, you'll see it like kind of like unraveling.
It's
Oh,
spaghetti.
shit.
I was like,
okay,
uh-oh.
well, here's the thing. She knows, and she still remembers. And that just makes her even more selfish. Like, she's like,
like, yeah,
ignore
of
it.
course I
I'm just
know.
going to live my life. I want to live my fucking life. I understand it. It's within her character that she never got to have a life. And so she's just trying to, she's got her claws in it, and she doesn't want to let go. And he's like, man, you're being selfish. Like,
It's like, I'm
what are
tired
you,
of being
then
chased.
why are you
and
doing
killed.
the TVA stuff? She tries to point out to him, and he kind of realizes, oh, well, I'm trying to save the universe. Yeah, but what else? Well, I'm trying to, save the TV. Yeah, but what else? It's like, I don't want to be alone. He's, and he realizes, but that's a good fucking reason, in my opinion. I made some friends. I've been alone all my life. I finally have friends. Look, I want to save Obi. That's a good reason. That's good enough for me.
Yeah.
You want Obi to live? Good.
But he wouldn't be alone. He'd be dead.
What?
He gets spaghetti.
Well, that's why we have to work towards not getting people spaghetti.
They don't want to die.
They don't want to die. So
Yeah.
he wants his friends back, basically. And Sylvie listens to, okay, and then she basically tells him, fuck off. And he's like, fuck.
Yeah, you're right.
Goes back to his timeline. He's like, don't worry, everybody.
Go home.
I'll tell you to go home in a minute. But then we go back to selfish old Sylvie trying to block out everything. And she's listening to some music. Or she goes to her favorite record store, and he's like, hey, here, listen to this. It'll solve all your problems or make them worse. I don't know what song she's listening to, but I don't know if it matters. But she's listening to a song, and then time starts to unravel. Cool shot. And it's like,
Yeah,
what the fuck
I
would
like
I do? There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought she was gonna go, but I forgot. She always has her little time thing, so she warped out. She's like, all right, let's fucking. God damn it. And so then Loki's like, okay, all right, Ed. But then everybody starts to unravel there. And it's like, fuck. And then in that moment, he's like, man, I'm not having this taken away from me. Good acting. You can see it on his face. And he, and then manages to control time slipping finally. And that's going to be relevant for the next episode and how he uses that in order to fix the whole situation.
And
Because
again,
with that
though,
power, you can fix.
It's going to be like 40 minutes, 43 minutes, all that to get wrapped
You
up.
think so? Yeah,
That's what they always do.
always
It's
been.
like-
Yeah.
50 minutes if we're lucky.
Can't argue with you there, but it's good that we want it to be lengthy. We want it to be long because here you have good cinematography, good acting, good visuals. Whereas in some of the Disney series, you didn't even have that.
Horrible.
And short.
And horrible. That's the only good part. It was short.
Right. Anyways, so not where. He's like, it's not about where, when, or why. He realizes it's about who. I can rewrite history. And so all these like little phrases that are making me believe that they're going with the Loki god of stories. And that was a comic book storyline where, as they're exploring the Loki character, always losing, being a loser. And in fact, there's an Easter egg, and I ran into it by accident. I didn't even see the internet where at the end there's, that Zanuck arcade game that was based on the other dude's acting career. It's like, you died, insert coin. You loser, you lose, loser. You know, and Loki's just sick of being a loser, and he doesn't want to lose. And so when he realizes that, wait a minute, as a god of trickster, there's a level above it that I can achieve. He can go ultra instinct and become god of stories. So I'm interested to see how they do it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fast forward. I tried to see if there was like another end cutscene
Yeah, I
or
was looking for
something.
There's not. It's
was like, come
audio.
on.
It's audio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we only got it once this season, I think.
Yeah, even and just again, I wrote here, God of Stories. If you don't know, like that power level is even above God, universal gods. That he could do things that even the gods are surprised of and stuff, and he's just like super powerful and stuff. So it's like, but the thing is, he has to hold time together, so there are strings attached to that, and I don't really know exactly how that's gonna work out. I guess we'll figure it out in episode 6
Next week,
which
last
Joe is probably
one.
right. It's gonna be the same length as this, and I
Yes.
feel like no, you got to do a supersized episode.
We've been begging them nonstop for Disney to stop doing this. If you're gonna make it short, make it longer.
Yes, right. We have been, and we want to hammer home that when you're doing so well and when you have great talent and you're only giving them 6, I feel like you're doing a disservice to the story and the actors and everything, and then it should be the 12 that you get elsewhere. And let's see. And it seems like Disney is just fucking up with money allocation on budgets on series. Now, I don't know the budget of this series. Surprisingly, the Loki season 2 is getting fewer watch minutes than Ahsoka, but don't let that seem like the sky's falling because all that stuff about Ahsoka not being watched isn't really true, because it got watched even more afterwards. So it's ranking well enough in the grand scheme of things. But I think it's like a 50% drop off from Loki's 1's watched minutes versus Loki season 2's watched minutes. But watched minutes, again, not a reliable source, and that's only television numbers, not computer and mobile. So maybe more people are watching on computer and mobile, but usually it's an indicator as the chart.
Only Disney knows for sure how many people are actually watching this,
Yes.
and anyone who says that they know otherwise is fucking lying
So
to you
all
for
that
clicks.
bullshit for Ahsoka was bullshit.
Yeah, they're just making shit up.
So now, however, the point that I will make that is in there in the favor is they gave, I think the budget for She-Hulk was 250 something
Yeah,
like that.
I
That's
think
a
it was like
news story
25
that
million
came
an
out.
episode.
And the budget for motherfucking Obi-Wan was less. And so when you look at that, it's like, wait a minute. You're going to give She-Hulk, an unproven property, a bigger budget or more time and attention than, say, one of the most important parts and characters within the Star Wars universe. And I think a lot of that stuff translated into why Obi-Wan Kenobi was a disaster. Not so much that it didn't have the best budget, but that you're using unproven, writers and unproven directors on something that's so important.
Yeah, I mean,
And so I feel like Disney doesn't have good judgment on where to allocate the resources.
I mean, there's an argument to be made that like Obi-Wan was going to be a guaranteed success with a guaranteed cadre of fans. Just no matter how good or bad it was, they'd be like, "No, man, Obi-Wan's the greatest thing because I have these fond memories." So you're going to watch Obi-Wan because you've loved Obi-Wan for 40 years. Like you don't know who She-Hulk is, so we have to throw everything at this show to make you love it. And then the problem is they did it too much. It's like, love her. It's like, well, we already kind of like the no, love her harder.
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
they kind of
ruined everything. Yeah, they like her by making
the budget,
everyone worse.
Okay, this is gonna blow you away. I had to look up the actual budget. You may expect that Kenobi would have a budget similar to Andor and The Mandalorian. You're gonna shocked to hear the budget was surprisingly low, $90 million.
Yeah, and
You're gonna give it, and that's less than they gave to Andor, less than they gave to Mandalorian. What the fuck are you doing? That to me is like, oh my god, Disney does not know what they're doing. They need to get their shit together, because if you're doing $200 million plus for She-Hulk and you're only giving $90 million to fucking Obi-Wan, no fucking wonder nobody gives a shit about Star Wars anymore, and no wonder people are like, what are you like? All right. Anyways,
Ewan McGregor probably took the majority of that money too.
exactly. You have to realize he's a big name, so the budget's even less. It's like fucking 70 million or something. I don't know, 80 million. Anyways, but so what I'm saying is budget and more episode and time to projects like these, Loki season 2, because I am enjoying it, and I think that these rate highly in critics and rate highly amongst audiences, more so than the other projects that you're doing. So at Marvel. In phase 4 or 5 or wherever the fuck we're at.
I don't know where we're at.
All right.
I don't care anymore.
You don't care anymore, yeah.
I'm getting done with superheroes.
Getting done with superheroes. I never thought I'd say that, and I'm not there yet. But it is running me ragged, and I'm on the edge. It's more like I'm done with Disney's bullshit, and I need them to do some reinvention or get back on track. And what I'm seeing here with Loki, God of Stories, that has me excited. Kang does not have me excited. Loki, God of Stories has me excited. X-Men has me excited.
That's if they do it.
If they do what? X-Men?
No, you're Loki.
Oh, Loki, God of Stories.
Again,
right, it's still technically a
you're
theory.
way more creative.
Yeah, they could do Loki God of Stories, but you never see it. They could just make him the God of Stories.
To
and
fuck it up, where it's like a hint to God of Stories, but it's not really
Or
God
we
of
just never see him
Stories.
again, and this is how they write him off into the sunset.
Oh,
Or
it's like, okay, we're going to write him off to the sunset, so let's make him the most powerful being that we have, but he has to sit there on his own and do nothing.
This is them killing off the character, but putting him somewhere else where he's not gone forever, so they could bring him back because they don't want to do an Iron Man thing. That
True.
was.
But Tom
They could bring him
Hiddleston
back
says he wants to play this
now,
character until he
right?
dies. That's why I love this man, because like he is the best Loki.
He is.
And he wants to play it. He's not like Chris Evans. And he's like, I'm tired of fucking playing this, Captain America. Or
Well, Loki
Tony
doesn't have to
Stark.
put on 90 pounds of muscle and be at 6% body fat to play his character. So he's like,
Good point.
I just get to wake up in the morning
Good
and just
point.
be awesome. Amazing.
I'm already awesome,
Yeah.
so I get paid to be. Yeah, these are good points. Anyways, tell us what you think. We're waiting for episode 6, and we will see you guys then. Bye.